Today we're going to take a look at one of the most badass politicians out there in pretty much the entire world, but specifically here in Canada, Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith is not only standing up to our tyrannical federal government, specifically Justin Trudeau right now, but she's also done a great job of standing up to the World Economic Forum. In fact, Danielle Smith is actually the first ever politician to really stand up to the World Economic Forum. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Today we got quite a bit of stuff to cover, so brace yourself. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps grow the channel. We're on road to 400,000 subscribers, so we're doing pretty good here. Almost 1% of Canada's population. As well as if you'd like a matching hat, you can find the link for that down in the description below. You got the hat right here, the Canadian Freedom baseball cap. I have this one in white. And also my favorite hoodie is the Canadian Freedom hoodie. I have that in maroon. My wife steals it from me all the time. I'm probably going to have to order a few more myself so my wife can have some for winter, because brace yourself, winter is coming. So we're going to start off with a recent video of Danielle Smith standing up to the Trudeau government around the Northwest Territories fires. And then we're going to take a look at how Danielle Smith has actually stood up to the World Economic Forum. So here we go.
We've just had an opportunity to meet some residents of the Northwest Territories who had to leave everything behind, as well as staff and volunteers who are doing everything that they can to offer support and reassurance. The true test of leadership comes in times of crisis, and since the evacuation, Premier Cochrane has continued to run her government despite the crisis they face. I commend her for her bravery, her dedication to her constituents, and her willingness to serve during this critically important time.
What the Albertans have done for our people, I am eternally grateful. I shall never forget the kindness and the support of Albertans. You truly shown.
So for those who don't know, the Northwest Territories in Canada has been like crazy on fire, and they've needed to evacuate a lot of towns and well, I guess they're not cities because they're not that big, but I think the biggest one is Yellowknife. It has about 20,000 people that live there, and the surrounding communities that have, you know, thousands here, hundreds here, whatever it may be, and they need to go somewhere. And so Edmonton and Calgary and maybe even Red Deer and other communities within Alberta have opened up, you know, their communities, their hotels, community centers and things like that for fire evacuees. But the federal government has not been able to help anyone. They've really dropped the ball on this, and it's all been provincial and territorial.
What it means to care for people, not just your own, but for all people. And that is the Canadian way. So thank you.
Over the past week, we've gained 21,576 temporary residents, and Albertans are very proud to help. I'd also like to thank everyone from the Calgary Emergency Management Agency for their tireless efforts in setting up and running this evacuation centre, and for the support that they offer daily to the evacuees from Yellowknife. Alberta's healthcare system has assisted in the evacuation of 4 hospitals and is serving the healthcare needs of 4 acute care patients, 55 continuing care patients, 30 obstetrics patients, and 19 dialysis patients.
These fires, I would love to say it was a one-time event, but I can't guarantee that. What I can say is that when we had to evacuate, not only me, we've been asking for the same infrastructure, roads, communications that people in Canada take for granted for decades. When our community of Hay River started on fire, people were driving through our one road out with fire on both sides. The smoke was overcome, our communications went down. We have no redundancy. I couldn't get a hold of people. They couldn't know if they were safe, if they were evacuated or not. So I've been screaming for infrastructure for decades, all of us. Now we're talking about risks. 22 of our communities have no roads in, no permanent roads. And we all know if the smoke is there, you can't fly planes in. So if this happens, our season's not done, but if this happens next year, is it my fault? Whose fault is it when we can't get people out because we don't have basic infrastructure that every Canadian takes for granted? So I'm tired. I've been tired for a long time for asking for infrastructure, and now I'm angry. And I think that I'm not going to be able to do it alone. We've been arguing. I need every single Canadian to say it is not okay that the territories live like third world countries, that we do not have the same services that people in the South have. So please, everyone raise your voice, because I need the federal government here. We are Canadians, and we deserve the same. Thank you.
That was an excellent speech, and it really is the reality of the situation that territories, a lot of the smaller communities, they don't have resources, they don't have amenities that, you know, we do take for granted. And that is and was a guarantee and a promise by the Trudeau campaign. Vote for me and I'll take care of the small Indigenous communities. Vote for me and we're going to give everyone clean drinking water and roads, and we're going to provide infrastructure. Vote for me and we're going to make Canada better. And well, he's just failed to do that. In fact, it's regressed in a lot of different ways. And so I love to see politicians stand up to the government, but more specifically, Danielle Smith does a great job of just bringing people together to stand up to the Trudeau government, which you're going to see now. We're going to look at the World Economic Forum and how Danielle Smith just has totally obliterated the World Economic Forum and has said the things that people are too afraid to say. So kudos to Danielle Smith. Here we go.
WEF. It's not clickbait, Premier. It's not entertainment. It's actually a health policy decision that you announced on Western Standard on Friday. AHS confirms there is a deal with WEF. It's very minor. It's an information sharing deal, but it does exist. And you're saying we are going to cancel that and anything to do with WEF. Policy decision. So, sorry, I had to write this down because it was that. What concerns do you have then with WEF? And is it because you accept the online conspiracy theory that WEF is a front for a global cabal of world leaders bent on using the pandemic to destroy capitalism and install a socialist dysfunctional dystopia? And I'm sorry if I didn't get the whole theory correct.
Look, I think that we should be taking our healthcare advice from Alberta Healthcare.
Danielle Smith has the guts to say what needed to be said at the time and continues to do so. Why is different governments, why are different politicians going to this private organization that has absolutely no real concrete footing as a government entity? We're being brainwashed, controlled by this World Economic Forum agenda. It's weird. It's not a conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've been raised by a liberal household. Most of us have actually been raised with liberal tendencies and liberal values because that has been the tradition of Canada. It's been pretty much a long-standing liberal government. So I'm not ashamed of my past to say that I was raised liberal, because liberalism now has just gone so far to the left woke radical spectrum that if you're liberal now, you should kind of be ashamed of that, because it doesn't make any sense. So great job, Danielle Smith, for standing up to the World Economic Forum and saying what needed to be said. And we're actually seeing a rise in that, not just at the provincial level or territorial level, but also at the federal level, where Pierre Poilievre has come out and say, you know, within the past year, that any members of his caucus, any members of the Conservative Party of Canada, should they ever attend World Economic Forum or be affiliated with the World Economic Forum in any way, shape, or form, that they will be let go immediately. And so that is fantastic, because the Liberals have actually done the opposite. The Liberals are trying to accumulate as many members of their cabinet of parliament as they possibly can at the federal level, at the provincial level, at the municipal level, to go and be hubs or students at the World Economic Forum. And it's just kind of disgraceful, because what is it? Why are you doing that? Why does this one private entity have so much power and control? And that's kind of the conspiracy of it all. In this article here, Danielle Smith says she distrusts World Economic Forum province to cut ties. Smith says she won't deal with the agency until they stop bragging about their control over politicians. Of course, this is a reference to Klaus Schwab's "I've penetrated the Liberal cabinet, including Justin Trudeau's" comment, which is a real thing. That's not edited. It's not AI. It's not a deepfake. It's unfortunately very, very real. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said she's canceling health consultation agreement involving the World Economic Forum, an agency at the center of global domination conspiracy theories, because she won't work with a group that talks about controlling governments. I mean, that just seems like common sense. And I just hate how the Canadian propaganda machine, CBC, uses things like conspiracy theories, because it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real thing, and it's really happening, and it's been proven. And they slander things. They gaslight you. They make you feel like you're not valuable. They make you feel like you're replaceable and you're stupid. And then years later, they come out and say, oh, it turns out it wasn't a conspiracy theory. Anyways, moving on. It's very annoying. I find it distasteful when billionaires brag about how much control they have over politician or political leaders, Smith said at a news conference Monday after her new cabinet was sworn in. That is offensive. The people who should be directing government are the people who voted for them. Quite frankly, until that organization stops bragging about how much control they have over political leaders, I have no interest in being involved with them. The UCP premier said she is lockstep with federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who has stated he and his caucus will have nothing to do with the World Economic Forum. The deal with Alberta Health Services see the province share ideas with health researchers at Harvard University and the Mayo Clinic under the forum's umbrella. The high-profile conference of global political and business leaders has been the focus of conspiracy theories from both sides of the political spectrum. A decade ago, it was accused by the left wing of conspiring to cut pensions and slash environmental programs. It became the focus of attacks from the right during the COVID-19 pandemic, when it prompted a great reset, calling the ideas on how to better organize global security post-pandemic, which, again, is not a conspiracy theory. The Great Reset was a book that Klaus Schwab literally himself came out with, like within a week or a month of the pandemic started. So kind of weird. Like, who's that fast to publish a book? Very, very strange. That started online conspiracy accusations, unproven and debunked, that the forum is fronting a global cabal of string pullers exploiting the pandemic to dismantle capitalism and introduce damaging socialist systems and social control measures, such as forcing people to take the vaccines with tracking chips. I mean, I don't know about the tracking chips stuff, but Smith, on a live stream interview Friday, announced the deal was ending, but didn't say why. At a news conference Saturday, she declined to respond to two questions on the forum. The premier was asked by a reporter Monday if she has concerns about the forum because you accept the online conspiracy that the World Economic Forum is a front for a global cabal of world leaders bent on using the pandemic to destroy capitalism and install socialist dysfunctional dystopia. And so I'm going to take a moment here to ask you, the audience, was that true? Is that what happened? Or is that a conspiracy theory? Do-do-do, do-do-do. We're going to take a look at something more recent that Danielle Smith has done, where she has basically insisted that environmental experts zip it. They need to keep out of the discussions for, oil in Alberta, which is a very strong topic to any Albertan. Let's take a look at this video.
But just to be clear, to put a fine point on this, do you fully agree with the CEO's comments, and how is that the industry moving in the right direction, as you have said the industry is doing?
Suncor is moving to carbon neutral by 2050. That's exactly the direction the rest of the world is moving in. They've been a founding member of the Pathways Project, and they are fully committed to carbon neutrality. And that's the focus, the end goal that we should all be focused on, including Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault.
The federal government is proposing a cap on emissions, not a cap on production. So if the oil and gas sector is able, through carbon capture technology, you have touted on this program to scale back emissions intensity, then production wouldn't be cut. In fact, it could go up. The Liberals say here you're misleading Albertans. Is that what you're doing?
No, I mean, look at what Stephen Guilbeault's statements have been. He has talked about reducing emissions 42% by 2030. That is 7 years from now. And if you talk to anybody in the industry, if he's intent on pursuing that kind of aggressive target, that is a production cap, because the only way to achieve it would be by shutting in production. We have seen studies that have been done on this. Most recently, one suggested that that kind of a aggressive emissions target would cause us to have to reduce our production by 1.5 million barrels per day. And that is, quite frankly, outside the mandate of the federal government. They do not have a mandate to determine the pace and development of our resources or how we structure our power grid. That's why we're working towards 2050. I have always said that I think 2050 is achievable. Our industry says 2050 is achievable. It's just that the targets being put forward by Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault are arbitrary, not based on data, not based on science, seem to be plucked out of thin air, and unachievable, as well as being unconstitutional. And that's what we're pushing back against. If we can get oriented around 2050, we'll find a lot of common ground.
So, you know, I was speaking to the minister's office, and clearly you're saying that your gripe here is specifically with the minister, not the government as a whole. But they're saying, you know, the government of Canada, the government of Alberta, they have agreed to terms of a working group to develop a clean economy in Alberta, and that you're really just posturing here. And if you really wanted to work with the government, you know, stop the posturing and get down to work on this.
Happy to do that. They need to tell Stephen Guilbeault, stick a sock in it, so that we can get together at the table.
Well, they're saying that you need to do that.
Negotiations. Not at all. He's the one who's gone to China to give them advice on how to reach a 2060 target when they are bringing on 2 coal-fired plants a week for electricity. Meanwhile, from there, he is telling us that Suncor is going to face an emissions cap. That is being provocative. He's the one who has to dial it back, and as soon as he does, we'll be happy to have a constructive conversation at the table. But he's got to stop dropping bombs, and he's got to stop criticizing our industry.
Yeah, just a clarification on the interview that was conducted with a CP, where, you know, the comments were made by the minister. That, we are told by his office, was actually an interview that was conducted in Charlottetown, not in China, and the Canadian press withheld publication on that. Let's talk right now about the International Energy Agency, which says for every $1 US of global investment in fossil fuels, there is $1.7 now being spent on clean energy. In fact, the last time global investments in fossil fuel outpaced investment in fossil fuels was 2015. So given that reality, why would you introduce an uncertainty here into the market?
Well, I can tell you every jurisdiction around the planet has had to come to terms with how much intermittent power they can bring onto their grid. And we are no exception. I have had now 9 level 3 alerts in my province in the last year. And that means that the power grid is close to failing because wind is either not blowing or sun is not shining. And the only backup that we have is natural gas. So we know that we have to be able to bring on both of those. We have to be able to bring on baseload power at the same time as intermittent power. And that's the reality that we need to be grappling with here. So we're happy to support a responsible amount of wind and solar on the grid, but we also need to have baseload power because
and that's the thing.
Number one goal is to make sure that the lights don't go off.
Okay. Yes, and that's the thing that these woke liberals just don't seem to understand is, hey, man, personally, I'm all for solar. I love solar. I lived in a van for 4 years, and I had a whole whack of solar on the roof, and I wired my own lithium batteries. I had charge controllers. I had a power inverter, and I basically ran my entire life off of solar power. I loved it. Our phones have lithium-ion batteries. I like it. I think batteries are great, but forcing people to switch to batteries when the Canadian climate just it doesn't match. Like, you can't force people in minus 40 degrees for 6 to 8 months out of the year be on just pure battery. It doesn't work. And that's a problem that they have in the Atlantic and as well as in other cold parts of Canada, like all of the territories and northern BC, pretty much all of Alberta, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and northern, you know what? Pretty much all of Canada seems to have some sort of problem with this. So great on Danielle Smith. I really respect Danielle Smith for not only standing up to the World Economic Forum, but also Justin Trudeau. And I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments of any of the topics that I covered in this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.